Welcome, everybody, to Unlocking the Future, transitioning seamlessly from VMware to Red Hat, OpenShift, and OpenStack. This is a webinar brought to you by Crossvale and Red Hat. Appreciate you guys showing up so we can talk to you about some interesting subject matter around moving to VMware or moving to Red Hat, OpenShift, or OpenStack from VMware. First of all, we'll let you know a little bit about Crossvale, who we are. We're an award-winning global leader in platform engineering for containerization, Red Hat partner, 10 different accolades over the years between us and some of our partners. We have 24/7 support operations in US and EMEA, over 23 years of experience. We're here because OpenShift and OpenStack is an area of expertise that we have vast knowledge on and are probably one of the best in the world in. Topics that we're going to cover today: practical strategies for transitioning out of VMware, understanding containerization benefits of Red Hat, OpenShift, and OpenStack, prescriptive approach for early ROI. And then we can have some questions and answers. If you have any questions, please use the chat to be able to ask those questions. And then when we get to the end, we will go through questions from the audience. And please stay on mute throughout the webinar. So why migrate now? So yeah, this is an interesting question because if you had gone and talked about migrating from VMware a year or two ago, people would be looking at you like, what are you talking about? Like VMware's, we're standardized on this. But there's some things in the market that have changed that have made it very interesting to modernize now. And one of the big parts of that is the Broadcom historical, like what they've done with their acquisitions. And if we take a look at, since Broadcom has now acquired VMware, they're starting to have massive price increases for those that are still on VMware. So we take a look at what they've done over at CA Technologies and Symantec, and also experienced very similar situations, as well as didn't innovate on the platform. So we have service reductions that we've seen also, where over at Symantec, they've abandoned about 100,000 of their user base, and staffing reductions in both of these organizations as well over time, as much as 40% headcount reduced at CA Technologies. So we look at VMware, great product over the years, done an exceptional job. But as we look at the future, there's a lot of questions around the direction that it will be going, especially based off of innovation and price. So many are looking now for other options to help solve this problem as people need to modernize, especially as people need to modernize into containerization. If we take a look at what Gartner says, Gartner's advice around VMware is to identify exit ramps and find other options to migrate to. So it's super important also to make sure like these entities out there that are experts in the business or IT businesses telling us, hey, you should probably take a look at what's going on here as innovation and costs are going up. VMware migration drivers. So if we take a look at the reasons why many are looking at migrating now, it is reduced licensing costs as we see increase in licensing. So if you have a long-term contract with VMware, then you might have pushed this off for a few years, but as new renewals come up, you should expect that there will be licensing cost increases. Now, they could always change their strategy on that, but this is what we've seen elsewhere and what we're seeing currently in the market with existing customers. Eliminating vendor lock-in, many are in this situation because they've standardized on VMware, and it's now not easy for them to get off. So how do we do something where we can eliminate vendor lock-in? And that's where containerization can help with that. Expanding options for modernization. So as ISVs are modernizing and moving their products into containerized solutions, many are in this situation where they need to become container competent. So they may be competent on VMs like in VMware, but as you move to the next evolution of what you're going to do in your IT infrastructure, containerization is a big part of that because of what the ISVs are doing to drive containerization, because it lowers their costs to produce their software. Moving to open source software options, we've all seen over the years how innovation in open source has really driven lots of new features and nice products out there, even where IBM has bought OpenShift or bought Red Hat, which is a primarily open source company. Modern programmable infrastructure. This is about automation. Like how do we get more done in less time? And what we're talking about here is a solution that can move you into the next phase of automation as well. Desired VMware migration outcomes. So as we sit here and we take a look at the problem that exists, it's not a simple problem to take all of this stuff that you've standardized over the years and just pick it up and move it. So what people are looking for is a streamlined migration experience. Customers seek a migration that is straightforward with minimal complexity and disruption for their current operations, ensuring a smooth transition from VMware. So disruptions can't be part of this problem. How do we find a solution without disruptions? Long-term value and modernization. Many are not looking at just short-term solutions, saying if I'm going to take the effort and spend the time and money to modernize, I want to make sure I'm moving to a scalable flexibility, and then adding enhanced operational efficiency. So this would mean also having post-migration optimization and support, meaning not just understanding how to optimize what your current workloads are, but how to dynamically change them as you move to the future. People are also looking for operational continuity and minimal downtime. So maintaining business operations with minimal interruptions during the migration strategy, as well as a well-planned and executed transition strategy is super important for taking on this journey. And then effective training and continuous support. Operations emphasize the need for comprehensive training for their teams along ongoing support. What this really comes down to is as you're moving to a new platform, you have many resources that are trained on other platforms. How do you repurpose those people, and how do you get those people trained up? And as well as how do you understand the platform, the modern platform that you're moving to? So this is part of our solution as well, and we have a solution that runs along with OpenShift called PodOps for OpenShift that really solves this. So you don't necessarily need to have a subject matter expert on day one. We can help you solve that over time. And then transparent and predictable costs. So as we take a look at the uncertainty of the future costs of VMware, having a subscription pricing that is simple, easy to understand, and you can budget for your future is super important to making sure that as we move forward, your CFO can take a look at this and say, I understand what I can expect over the next few years on this, and understand looking forward how to budget. Which we're running into issues now as people are looking at VMware costs, unknowing exactly what those changes are going to end up being into the future. So Streamlined Migration Experience, I'm going to hand it over to our CTO, Jose Alonso, and he's going to start walking through the first aspect of this, which is Streamlined Migration Experience. Jose?
Hello, everybody. This is Jose. So when we go through this, quite often nowadays, many people have this same challenge, and everybody wants to understand what options are out there. Not many people do this out of desire, more of fear, more of I want to get out of not having options. Having options is always good. So when we go into an account, we go and we see they have many different cases. Like we have accounts there where they have 150,000 VMs, another accounts where they have 10,000 VMs, completely different scenario. But what we try to go with is with this methodology where we use the 6 R's to understand how big the problem is. When we go into one of those massive scenarios, you always want to clean your luggage before you move. So one thing that we do an emphasis is, can you search of some things that you don't need to move? More when we are in those massive migration projects, because when you're moving things that you're not going to be using, you're incurring costs that you don't really need. So when we take analysis on 100% of your current load, and we divide it into multiple buckets, we divide it into retire, rehost, retain. Those are things that are not going to move. Retire means that you're going to remove. Rehost means that you're going to move, sorry. And retain is the ones that you're going to keep inside of your current VMware. Then for the rest of the stuff in this graph that we have here would be 85% is the ones that you're going to have to do either a replatform, a refactor, or a repurchase. So those would be the rehost. When if we go to the next slide, so we can focus on the buckets. Oh, great. So in this presentation, like you can see 5% of this is pretty typical. 5% of the workloads go to retire. These are either all dev environments that are no longer being used, all databases that they are not required anymore, all things that have been there for years and nobody has worried about them. But now that we are going to move, we don't really want to move things that are not being used. But the 10% that is staying is VMware optimized applications. And we will have some of that in every engagement. Things that have been developed using VMware APIs that are a bad candidate to move to any other platform. And then the other 85% is divided in two different buckets. One that is uplift ready applications, which is imagine that you are running some COTS and you're running it in a VM today, but you also have a container option to run it. Container is a lot more efficient, so you may want to choose to just don't move the VM, let's get the container, and now I'm taking advantage of this migration to move more of my workload into containers if that's something that I want to do. For the rest of the applications that you have, and it's a VM to VM, we do that last 75%. That is, would be a migration of VM into a VM running on a different platform. So if we go to the next slide, going into that 85%, now we have to move 85% of your workload. Where do we move it to? There is no lack of options. Like we haven't moved yet, but we have plenty of opportunities. We have OpenStack, we have OpenShift Virtualization, we have Nutanix, we have Hyper-V, we have Proxmox, we have the public cloud, we have AWS and Azure, we have Hyper-V running in the cloud. We have a lot of options there. Which option is the best for you is going to be the one that is best for you. So each case is going to be a little bit different. But what we see is that there is a good solution that covers roughly 75% of the cases. If we go to the next slide, Bob. Keep going there. So no, go back one. Go back one. So there. So over the years, Red Hat has been working hard on creating OpenShift, and they have OpenShift as the best enterprise Kubernetes solution. It's a lot more than Kubernetes. Is not the Kubernetes will give you the kubelet to run containers, but that's about it. And then everything else, all the support, all the enterprise, all the curation, all the other components that are part of this platform are provided by Red Hat. In this case, OpenShift runs on every type of infrastructure, from physical, virtual, private, or public. Most of the customers that we talk to, they have already some Kubernetes running of some form. Either they have an EKS or an AKS, or they have OCP, OpenShift running on top of VMware. They have OpenShift running in the cloud. They have OpenShift running in some form. What we can do with OpenShift that not a lot of people have been doing until now is deploy that on the bare metal. So when we focus on deploying OpenShift on bare metal, on the physical infrastructure, we have a new option that is to run VMs on top of that OpenShift cluster. So in the previous scenario, we were running VMware, and then on top of VMware, we would be running OpenShift. And now we are just switching that. We are putting OpenShift on the bottom, and we have the option to run VMs on top. Those VMs act and behave the same for the cluster, the same as a container, the same. They get the same type of an IP. They are subject to the same software-defined infrastructure. they get access to the same storage, network, etc. So you can have containers and VMs running side by side on the same cluster through the same control plane with the same infrastructure, the same networking, the same security, the same policies, etc. But this simplifies the approach of having both containers and VMs running. But for the people that don't have containers yet, it still is a very good platform to run all the VMs. It gives you the most cost-effective way to run them because it includes every tool that you will need to run it. It includes everything from the storage to the policy management to the security to the microsegmentation, etc. Now, there are some edge cases where OpenShift is not going to be the best candidate. There are going to be other options that are going to be better. Like you have a VDI massive problem, maybe not the best option. Go with OpenShift. If you are a full Microsoft shop and every part of your ecosystem is Microsoft, maybe it's not the best option. If you are full into AWS and you are running AWS cloud native everything, and you only have a very small need for this, and you don't have a data center, maybe this is not the best option for you. But when it applies, this becomes the easy button. If it works, if it fits, is very simple to do the migration. We have migration toolkits, we have processes that are allowing us to do this migration effectively with performance from a business continuity perspective. It fits everybody or many people. And then there are some other cases where we rely on other type of tools that are more traditional approach to the virtualization problem, like OpenStack. So if we go to the next slide, please. So OpenStack still has a place in the world. We like OpenShift for that 75%, and then in the cases where we can't apply OpenShift, we do apply OpenStack. As I said, there are other edge cases that are not part of this, but we, as Crossvale, we don't really focus on those. So this would be better to go with a different type of partner. This is what we do. We work on this type of engagements. On the OpenStack, when you have a very heterogeneous infrastructure, where you have a massive amount of VMs, more than 8,000 VMs, like even 8,000 is on the lower limit. We see these environments growing immensely. When you have very specific needs for automation and you want to have a one-to-one, like I want to have specifically the same behavior that they had with VMware, I want to replicate it. OpenStack is going to be your best bet for that, because in OpenShift, things change. Like you are modernizing, you are acquiring new capabilities, you are acquiring new abilities, but things are changing. And that change involves other things. So I'm aware of the reputation that OpenStack has more here in the US than everywhere else on the world. I don't really know why. I'm a European, if you didn't know. But in Europe, we love OpenStack. Like we have always considered that like rock solid, very good deployment, very good options. So we went to the community into the openstack.org space, and you can see the use cases. There are use cases to run, like here in the US, it's only telco. If you talk about OpenStack to anything that is not telco, they will tell you, no, I'm not a telco, I'm not interested. But everywhere else, like even here, you have seen use cases like Target or Walmart or T-Mobile, with T-Mobile is really a telco, GE, Overstock. There is a ton of companies using OpenStack for things that are not really a telco use case. Is when it fits, like the key word there is fit. If it doesn't fit, you are acquiring something that you don't really need. And it doesn't matter if it is OpenStack or any other thing, it's just not going to fit. So this is more of a conversation-driven design. So before you make a decision, it fits or it doesn't, I recommend talking to somebody who has done this before and then make that decision. OpenShift is a little bit easier because it applies to more broadly. It's a wider offering. So if we look at the feature parity, because some of the conversations that we keep having are always, well, But do you have everything that I have with VMware? Todd likes to say that there is not an apple to apple. This is not an apples to apples comparison. And it's completely true. There are things that you're not going to have a one-to-one replacement. This is different platforms. These things are going to change. So when you go from a very specific VMware-centric platform and deployment that has been driving your processes, your way of doing business, and now you have a lot more options to do other stuff, you will find better ways to do things. You will find more automation options, more automation opportunities, things that we see as a challenge. And we have worked very hard, and we have used Ansible to automate like provisioning, like decommissioning, like trying to find infrastructure that is not being used, all in VMware. All of this is so much easier and more convenient to do when you adopt OpenShift. OpenShift gives you all of this almost out of the box. You don't have to automate as hard to get to the same result. So making these environments part of your ITSM, part of your DevSecOps, part of your engagements and your processes is a lot easier than it was to do with VMware, where you had to modify your processes to fit VMware capabilities. This is the other way around. You can define your process, and the platform is able to keep up with what you want. I haven't found many use cases where we have a big challenge in that adoption. And we have been working with OpenShift since the very beginning. We have more than 500 implementations of OpenShift all over the world. So we have seen a lot of things and very few things that we have considered challenges on the platform. So this is the feature parity. I'm not going to go through the whole table. You can read that. Let's go to the what else do we need to consider when we are doing this migration? So we imagine that we have the platform built. We have built the platform. We have deployed OpenShift on bare metal. We have virtualization enabled. All right. Next step would be let's migrate the workloads. Well, there is a tool that is the migration toolkit that allows us to take your VMs, convert them into VMs running on OpenShift, and then run them as part of the platform. We like to consider this an intermediate step into how do I now move those VMs into containers. But at least it allows you to run those 75% of workloads that we said that we wanted to move in an automated fashion from VMware to OpenShift. So this is a screenshot of one part of this process where we go in, we select, we want to move these VMs, and now it converts the VMs and it drops them into our cluster. Can you go to the next one, please? Now the VM is migrated, and at the end, we have a VM running on OpenShift. Now, these VMs can be moved. You can choose which nodes do you want to run them. You can delete them. You can have pipelines for them. You can create them from scratch. You can create templates. Everything that you would have as an option, every thing, every feature that you would require out of a virtualization host, you will have as part of OpenShift. But then on top of the virtualization, you have the container platform. You have the software-defined infrastructure. You have the policies. You have advanced cluster manager and advanced cluster security that will also apply to this. So it's a whole ecosystem that you are acquiring when you go into some tool like this. If we go to the next slide, please. So once we have talked so heavily about the platform build and the migration. Now, when we are tackling any one of these projects, main objections from the teams are, well, this is very foreign to me. I don't understand what you're talking about. When you are talking about deploying bare metal and nodes and VMs and containers, I don't know. Like, I haven't done that. All I know is VMware, vSAN. Talk to me about VMware and I will know all day long. But you're getting me a lot of foreign concepts. So people are going to be a very important part of this transformation. What we have is a Sherpa program or a mentoring, coaching, however you want to call it. Sherpa means is very meaningful because we will help you to climb, but you will be doing the climbing. you will have to come with us. You have that option. We also have the option of running it for you for a while until your team is ready. So that is our support structure. We have an offering inside of Crossvale that is able to take ownership and operate your platform for you until your team is ready. We understand that this is very challenging, and the people that have been managing VMware for such a long time, they are very specialist on the VMware, but they are foreign to these new concepts. And we want to support you in this transformation. And then lastly, as part of this platform build, one part that cannot be overstated, and I mentioned this during this presentation already, is the integration into your processes. This is part of your ITSM. This has to be part of your ITSM. Same way VMware is today, or it should be today, this should be tomorrow. When we move into whatever platform you choose, either you go with OpenShift or AWS or whoever you go, make sure that you consider the entire challenge. How are you going to integrate whatever tool that you acquire into your ITSM, into your processes, into your provisioning, security, policy management? How effective are you going to be able to run? Are you going to need to increase your resources? Like, are you sacrificing the cost reduction from VMware into more staff to be able to manage the new platform or not? The platform that we are presenting, OpenShift, it runs with very minimal intervention. It runs very well. It runs very effective. We have been running it, as I said, for a very long time. We have massive clusters that run 24/7, even during upgrades. We don't have any more blackout windows. All of it is always running. We have active, we have all type of clustering between clusters. So whichever option you choose, make sure that it fits your business continuity and it fits inside of your processes. Let's go to the next slide, please. So I just want to go again through the benefits, and I think this is my last slide. Just to make sure that I have covered everything, we have the increasing velocity. We have like traditionally, when we provision a VM in a VMware environment, we have to worry about network. We have to worry about storage. How do we handle domains? How do we handle security? How do we handle all of this? And now when we take this platform, all of that is taken care of for us before we get into that provisioning scenario. How does this scale? Scalability, whenever we have a VMware cluster, has always been like complicated. We had projects of rack in a day. I want to be able to receive a rack, plug it in, and make it available in a day. And that was a massive challenge. While with this platform, it's not such a challenge. All the clusters are basically the same. The installation, once it's automated, it happens very quickly. Adding new equipment into one existing cluster happens very quickly. Of course, you have to do the rack and stack. There is no escaping that. Once you run on bare metal, you are gonna have to do it, but the same way that you were doing it now. So the only difference is that now recognizing that new equipment happens very quickly, and you can automate that. This is very cost efficient. One, because you get all the tools, everything that you need out of one single package that we couldn't find a very such a comprehensive option anywhere else. It's scalable. Like, you're gonna pay only for what you're using, and then as you scale, you can add more subscriptions, and that's another word, is subscription. Red Hat goes through the subscription model, which means that you're gonna pay yearly for what you are using. So when you need more, you can always add more and add more subscription into it. From a modernization, like the capabilities that you get out of this, the DevOps, the GitOps, the integration, the developer experience, the runtimes, everything, the metrics, the observability platform, everything is in part of the platform. So your developers can focus on developing. And now your platform is providing them with a lot of tools that simplify their deliverable. From utilization of the platform, you see that now we have other options, like we can protect the cluster with limits, with quotas, with requests. And we can also use very advanced things like HPAs, like pod autoscalers. We can have a workload at scale and as needed and shrink when not needed. We have all those capabilities that are cloud-like, but they can run on premise. They can run whenever we want. So this is really enabling us to do that modernization that with VMs, even though it can be achieved, is a lot more challenging. And then from an operations perspective, as I said, you have a simplified platform. It's one single platform, one single control plane, one single certification, one single certificate manager, security policies, etc. You have the best support. You have a platform that is tested through the most challenging environments. We, as Crossvale, instead of our Crossvale PodOps, is the name of our operations. We can operate that for you if you want it, if you think it's a challenge today, while your team scale up, while your team needs us, we can operate that for you. And then you have a very streamlined operation. Like there is not 30 vendors that you need to provide or all these other solutions that you need to make sure that it fits. Red Hat does that for you. When Red Hat creates a release, it's ensuring that all of those components are working. So this is our approach. This is our opinion. There is an opinion for everybody, and everybody's entitled to one. This is ours.
Thank you, Jose. I appreciate that. I'll take on here from the effective training and continuous support. So a lot of what Jose was talking about is like, you could do this, you could do that. But what we found is when making this transition, many people struggle with do it yourself, like, because it's such a change. There's a lot of components to this that is different. And as you modernize, it takes some specialized skill sets to be able to get this done. So we have found that people that, instead of trying to do it themselves, are able to leverage consulting and leverage platform engineering services to be able to accelerate them, are able to get ROI much faster, considering this is kind of a subset of the things that you need to know as you move. If we take a look at why OpenShift has a 46% market share, Jose kind of touched on this just on the last slide, saying, hey, you don't have to deal with all these different vendors. Like, this is a subset of the projects that are being brought together into OpenShift. It's all being managed by Red Hat for you to simplify your life. They're certifying all this stuff works together and is going to be smooth and supported. But not only that, you have these additional projects that are all in there as well as more. So as you take a look at all the different things that you need to know, there's a lot of pieces to this that Red Hat is handling for you and supporting for you. But bringing in a team that understands this down into the weeds, like Crossvale, where we can help you build it in a proper way that meets your specific needs, as well as support it for you as our PodOps platform engineering team would run your environment for you while your team is getting up to speed. You reduce the risk, especially when you're running critical workloads, like many critical workloads are running in your VMware solutions today. You reduce that risk by having a team that's going to guarantee that platform is working for you and performing. So what is PodOps? PodOps is managed container platform engineering. So you get, a lot of times you take a look at this triangle on the right, and people say, well, you can pick two: high quality, low cost, fast response. Which two do you want? Because you're not going to be able to get three. Well, PodOps we designed over the years to be able to give you all three: high quality, fast response, low cost. So we've simplified this so that we could run this platform for you in a situation where you don't have subject matter experts on this yet. The reason why this is important, number one, it is very hard to find these subject matter experts today because there's a shortage of them. So as containerization continues to become more prevalent, like right now it's in the early majority stage, and we're seeing ISVs driving more and more there. And so as those skill sets grow, and as we mentor and train people moving from other platform skills to new ones, there'll be more that's in the marketplace. But today it's harder to find those skill sets. So with pod ops, we can make sure that you have the skill sets to support your ecosystem and never have to worry about losing a person or a couple people and then being in a situation where you're not able to support your ecosystem well. Lower cost operations, skill gap elimination, proactive issue detection and resolution, all built in, guaranteed platform confidence. We do dynamic workload tuning and 24/7, 365 in any environment, regardless of where you're running this. If we take a look at pod ops, our managed container platform engineering solution, and you compare that to other container as a service solutions that are out there. Cloud providers have them. You can find them elsewhere where they're managing the container platform for you. We find that you get mostly patch and upgrade and subscriptions that you're going to get through your container as a service provider. But if you have a problem with the workload that's running in there, they're going to look at the container. They're going to say, hey, yep, cluster's running, nodes healthy, so it must be something on your end. So as workloads change, you need to understand how to dynamically tune things in your new ecosystem, and that's what PodOps brings to the table. Is we not only bring the understanding of you can run it anywhere, but design, build, configure, operationalize. We take care of patch and upgrade subscriptions, as well as workload excellence, where we're helping you dynamically tune your applications, custom telemetry, workload onboarding support, and resource management, so you can maximize the most out of resources. And then we move up also into container GitOps as an optional service available for you as well, to be able to implement container GitOps into your ecosystem to build even more automation. So a complete solution to completely eliminate your skill gap problem. This is the number one problem we're seeing today with people being able to make this transition. People have a desire to move to enterprise containers, but they have a skill gap problem. PodOps solves that problem, and Crossvale solves it from a consulting standpoint, and OpenShift solves it from having the very best solution on the market that you can count on, not only today, but for many years to come, to be that solution for you. Transparent and predictable cost. So especially as we move into the days here where there's a lot of uncertainty around what's going on with VMware cost, our promise is for you to fully understand your costs up front for this migration. Ensure transparent and predictable pricing. There's no hidden fees. Confidently budget for your future, and then a clear investment for your modern ecosystem. So there's a lot of things that go into this. Hardware costs, if you have to acquire new hardware, we're going to take a look at your hardware from a standpoint to see what can we reuse. There, you may not have to go out there and just buy a whole bunch of new hardware. We can adjust, we can figure out how to architect what you have. What software do you need? The licensing, the subscriptions. If there's additional tooling that you need based off what your needs are, training, development, so that your staff understands the new platform, migration services, so we can get your VMs moved, and also take a look at where you can leverage containerization, so that you can start to take advantages of your new container platform, as well as maintenance and support, so you don't have to be afraid if something goes wrong, you don't know how to deal with it. And then consultation and expertise. So we'll always have a subject matter expert that can help you understand not only what's happening today, but what's happening in the future. Our promise is a simplified migration guarantee to OpenShift Virtualization is a seamless transition. We minimize any issues with your apps. Mentoring and tools provided. Make sure you're fully equipped to take advantage of everything that's available on that platform. Infrastructure optimization. We're going to make sure without any unnecessary extra costs that you're not going to have to deal with unnecessary extra costs. Transparent subscription costs. This includes everything. When we come in and we'll provide a quote for you on your particular problem, we'll make sure we include everything so that there's not any hidden costs. Minimal downtime, making the transition efficient and trouble-free. And as Jose was talking about, that in many cases, we are doing upgrades and migrations where you don't have downtime. After the migration, we won't just leave you hanging. So continuous improvement, where the pod ops team will be there to understand what's going on with the changing workload, and so that we can help you dynamically tune and understand your future on the platform. Long-term advantages is the significant benefits of better scalability, more flexibility, and improved efficiency. And if we take a look at what the ISVs are doing on moving to containerization, it also sets you up to take advantage of any of your COTS solutions that you're currently using running in VMs. As they move to containers, you can implement those quickly and gain the new features that these organizations are usually including as they move you to containers. And then personalized cost analysis. There is no one size fits all. We will take a look at your particular situation and help you maximize your dollars with a personalized analysis, and we'll demonstrate the value. So the next steps, go to crossvale.com, click on see how we can make a difference, and request a consultation today.